So, what if I told you that a text from over 2,500 years ago holds one of the most powerful roadmaps for navigating our modern world? We're about to dive into the Book of Lamentations, not as some dusty piece of history, but as a seriously relevant guide for our toughest times. For generations, this ancient book has been a lifeline for people when life just becomes unbearable. And its power, it doesn't even start with words. It begins with a sound that every single one of us understands, a raw, primal scream of pure pain. The first step in this journey isn't about finding answers or making sense of things. Nope, it's about giving a voice to that initial, overwhelming shock of loss. Now get this single word, echa, is the book's original Hebrew name. It doesn't mean lamentations or sad poems. It is the sound itself, that shriek, that scream. The whole book kicks off not with a thought, but with a pure, unfiltered cry of absolute anguish. And the sound is just timeless. The Book of Lamentations is looking back at the destruction of Jerusalem way back in 586 BC. But then, centuries later, the New Testament tells us about Jesus weeping over that very same city, expressing almost the exact same kind of grief. It's just a powerful reminder that this deep, deep sorrow is a core part of being human. So, from that raw scream, the book then guides us into the actual work of grieving. And what Lamentations shows us is that mourning isn't something that just happens to you. It's an active and absolutely necessary process. So why is this so important, right? Why can't we just be quiet and deal with it? Well, the theologian Dorothy Soule argued that the very first step to getting through suffering is to find a language for it, to literally talk ourselves out of a pain that can make us feel completely silent. And this quote, wow, it just nails it. This line from a poem by Ruth Feldman paints the perfect picture. Our words become a vessel, like an ark. They let us ride the flood of sorrow instead of just being drowned by it. We give our feelings a shape and a color, and that's how we start to get our footing again. In fact, the Jewish tradition actually gave the book a second name, Kinot, which means funeral laments. And this wasn't just a description. It was their way of making the whole process sacred. It was affirming that the messy, difficult, human work of mourning is a holy and valid thing to do. Okay, but this process isn't neat. It's not a straight line. The book gives us permission to really wrestle with the darkness, to acknowledge that grief is often chaotic, and it can feel like you're going in circles. C.S. Lewis, who wrote so powerfully about his own devastating loss, he just captured this perfectly. Grief isn't something you deal with once and then it's over. It's like that bomber. It circles back around, dropping its bombs again and again, long after you thought the coast was clear. And that's exactly what you see in Lamentations. That sense of loss just keeps coming back in every chapter. As one grief expert put it, having a string of good days and then suddenly plunging back into sadness, that doesn't mean you're failing. Those ups and downs are a totally normal part of the process. The book also makes room for all the emotions we might feel are wrong or unspiritual. Things like protesting and just screaming, why? Challenging God, demanding justice, and even, calling for your enemies to get what they deserve. Lamentations says, hey, all of that is a valid part of the journey. It gives us permission to be angry. So, where does all of this wrestling and anger lead? It's not to some simple, happy ending. It leads to something way more realistic and, honestly, more powerful, a turning point. The goal isn't closure. I mean, that word often feels totally impossible, right? Instead, the goal is to get to a point where, even though the pain is still there, you can finally see a little glimpse of dawn, a tiny sign that the darkness is starting to lift. And, crucially, you have to find this for yourself. It can't be forced on you by a well-meaning friend telling you to look on the bright side. And what comes out of that turning point? A really powerful new identity, the wounded healer. The idea here is that our own scars, the fact that we've been through it, uniquely qualify us to help others with their open wounds. Because we've walked through that darkness ourselves, we become the best possible guides for people who are just starting that journey. And this brings us to the final critical stage. After a great loss, we all face a profound choice between two very, very different paths. On one side, there's a huge risk. The famous naturalist Charles Darwin, for example, he completely lost his faith after his 9-year-old daughter, Annie, died. He just couldn't see a loving God in that kind of suffering. And for some, the pain can become overwhelming. But on the other side, there's the potential for incredible growth. Author Gerald Sitzer, who lost his wife, his mother, and his daughter all in one car crash, he wrote this. He found that this kind of profound sorrow, it's like a clarifying fire. It just burns away all the nonsense, the things that don't really matter, and it forces you to figure out what's truly important. It can simplify your life and make you so much more empathetic to other people who are hurting. Ultimately, the Book of Lamentations offers us a path not around our darkest moments, but directly through them. And it leaves us with this final powerful question to think about. What if the very thing that breaks your heart also holds the seed that can remake you, stronger and more compassionate than you ever were before?